Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Born to Succeed podcast, the number one podcast on the planet for helping you succeed on both a personal and professional level. Where every podcast we bring you motivation, inspiration, faith, hope, and love, and we remind you that you are born to succeed. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Born to Succeed podcast, the number one podcast on the planet for helping you succeed on both a personal and professional level. I am your gracious host, Michael Merritt. Today, my friends, we are so blessed to have a legend in the house. Today, we have a guy that has gone way, way, way out there and helped so many people. He is a business guy extraordinaire. He is a former president of John Maxwell Leadership Foundation, currently the president at Leader Tribe, a senior advisor at Generational Equity. I could just go on and on about this guy, but I'm going to let him tell more about himself. Dr. Rob McCleland. How are you doing, Dr. Rob?
Hey, Mike, great to be with you, my friend. It was so great to meet you originally and then to stay in touch. And it's been so fun growing our friendship and very thankful to have the opportunity just to hang out with you for a little while.
Hey, great to have you on the show. Was so great to catch up in Tennessee there and to realize that the first time I actually met you was in Richardson when you were here guest speaking at a church that I was attending at the time, and then caught up with you at the conference there at the Unleashed You conference in Tennessee at the Gaylord, which was a great event that the Unleashed You put on, and of course brought you in for some wisdom and an intellectual wealth, and it was great. And I've been following you definitely ever since. It's great to follow you and see the great information you put out there and helpful tips, even down to hotel room tips, right?
There you go. Yeah, I did. I travel every single week.
Right.
I usually fly out Mondays, work really, really hard Tuesdays, and then I'm home on Wednesdays. And then my work week's over. How's your week go? No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
It's true, but I do that. I speak from stage every week for a company that helps business owners to sell their companies or to prepare their companies for growth, but get after the profit, not just the revenue.
Uh-huh.
And since I do so much traveling, I've learned so many hacks that I did a little spot 3 different videos on travel hacks and ends up that blew up. So thankful for that. I got something from someone in Alaska last week who's saying, hey, look, Dr. Rob, I'm using one of your travel hacks. So
I'm,
good for
I'm
them.
telling you, I loved it. It really was great, down to the towel, spreading the towel out and your stuff on there when you first come in. I mean, for
Yep.
those that don't know what we're talking about, you have to follow Dr. Rob and go to his Facebook page to see what we're talking about. But he had some great tips for traveling, and definitely, I definitely used some of those myself. So, Dr. Rob, tell us where you're originally from. Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, I'm a NorCal guy and kind of a crazy background. Uh, Born down in San Diego, never met my dad. And then my mom was really had some problems, issues in her life, alcoholism, some other things. So she was married and divorced 4 times by the time I was out of grade school. And those were the good times, actually. It was most of the time, that was like a different guy coming home from the bar every night. And so supposedly I had a really rough childhood, but nobody told me it was rough. As far as I knew, it was, we grew up with a whole lot of other poor people in a mixed part of town and played sports and rode my bike around and built forts. And I thought I had a great childhood.
Right.
Uh, and I came to realize later there were some things that had gone on in my life as a result of that I needed to work through, but I got the help I needed. And so Northern California, did my undergrad in Sacramento, grad in Dallas, and PhD work out on the East Coast.
Very good. Right, man. And you did your graduate work here in Dallas. And where did you graduate from? Was it
Uh,
Dallas Theological?
yeah, yeah, DTS.
Yep.
A guy named Howard Hendricks was the #1 guy in leadership from a Christian perspective. So he's the guy I wanted to study under. When I want something, I pretty much get after it. So I went there, and then I ended up interning it, with him for years and going and doing all the Promise Keeper events with him, everything else.
Wow, wow, wow. And so, um, like when I looked on your Facebook page, the one thing I saw in there is like, and I don't know if this is your mission statement or just kind of your pop on there. It said you help business owners maximize value and passionately help speakers with a world class course. So tell
That's
me more
correct.
about that right there. How do you do that? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the maximizing value, I do that through one-day conferences. You can go to generational.com and look at it. It's a company, it's based right where you are in Richardson, Texas. And that company, Generational, our company, I'm not an owner in the company. The owner is a good friend of mine. I'm one of their senior advisors. We've helped more businesses sell their business, more business owners sell their business
Uh huh.
than any other company in the world 16 years in a row.
Wow.
And we do it with integrity. Well, most of the people, when they're getting ready to sell, you got somebody come along and say, "Oh, I'll buy your business. Let's look at your last 3 years of financials." Well, if you have a good accountant, hopefully you don't show that much profit because you don't want to be paying taxes on that.
Right.
And so they're going to take your financials and then say, "Well, here's what I could do." Most people have never sold a business, Mike. And so if I was buying your house, we'd find some comps in the neighborhood and we'd start off probably $25,000 apart. We'd negotiate back and forth. We'd come up with a price. Well, what's your business worth? Let me explain just really quickly so you can have this in your mind and people can have it in their mind.
Yeah.
And that is, what people are buying in your business is not your building or your printers or your trucks. If I wanted to buy a fleet of broken down trucks, the most insanely expensive way to do that in the world would be to buy your business just to get to your truck. So what am I actually buying? Really quick story. A phone book company in Iowa. Okay, a phone. When's the last time you used a phone book for anything other than holding a door open?
Right. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. For all your younger listeners, they used to print off the internet and deliver it to your house so you'd know who to call. Okay. Uh,
You follow
okay.
that you did the walking. You let your fingers do the walking. It was the
That's
yellow
right. That's
pages.
exactly right. Okay. And so, who's going to buy a phone book company? Well, check this out. This particular phone book company was still in business because they had 25 or 30 unbelievably well-trained salespeople who were excellent at picking up the phone and closing a deal over the phone. Ends up the guy who owned the company was a really good salesperson. And so all the other phone book companies had gone out of business. He was still in business. Now he's selling his company. Well, the way that we sell companies is we want to find out who is that the most valuable to who's out there. Now, one person out there wanted to buy a phone book company, but they had some unbelievable high bids coming in on that company
Uh-huh.
from people who sell, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
People who sell Google ads and Facebook ads. Why? Hey, you want to go waste $1,000 today? Just go put it in Facebook ads if you don't know what you're doing. But Mike, a
Sure.
friend of yours and mine, George Bryant, who was in Nashville,
Yes, sir.
he buys over $1 million of ads per month. Uh, okay, as soon as you're ordering $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 of ads per month, you're not clicking through and giving your credit card. Somebody has to get on the phone with you, walk you through a DocuSign document, and you do a bank transfer, and that's how you do it.
Right.
Well, guess what? That phone book company, millions and millions and millions of dollars were bid on that thing by companies who all what they were going after was that well-trained, unbelievable sales force who was good at picking up the phone and calling people over the phone. Because immediately they could make millions of more dollars because they had trained people who they knew were already successful. So we didn't sell a phone book company, we sold a sales force. But who would have known? Any other broker would have gone in there and just said, well, not much of a market for phone book companies, but I'll give you a 500,000. Instead, they got millions and millions and millions of dollars. That's what we do. Remember, all you business owners out there, they're not after your business. They're after saying, if what intangible assets do you have? That means they're not on your balance sheet.
Right.
That if I had those in my business, I could make a lot more money. So that's what we do on the selling and maximizing business side.
Wow. That's quite a value, no doubt. That's very interesting right there, Doc, to take it from that and then be able to springboard it into something else. Wow.
Yeah.
And
Then on the course side,
uh-huh.
on the what I do is, since I speak from stage every single week, and I was the dean of a university and I taught MBA students for years on public speaking. But what I do is I hear people who get up and they're wonderful people and they have incredibly good ideas. But then I say, okay, tell me about yourself. Well, I'm very thankful to be here and I'm thankful for the opportunity to talk. And today I'm going to be talking about, and whatever they're saying up there, it's already on the big screen behind them and it's on the program in front of me. So basically, what I hear coming out of their mouth is, hey, this is a good time to pick up your phone, see if you have any new messages, right?
Yeah.
And so today we have the greatest tool ever to find out if people are tracking with you when you are speaking. Because if they all go and pick up their phone, they're not tracking with you.
Right.
And so I could open a speech with you and I could say, hey, today I want to talk about business. And business is a great thing. The whole world runs on business. And I've been in business a long time. Or I could say this, hey, there's two different business advisors that I know. One of them has been a guy who's been really successful. As a matter of fact, some people have flown him around the world to learn from him and do things. And he's just a nice guy. He's got a good reputation. The other guy, boy, he's kind of gone to the dark side in his life a time or two. The good news is he's pulled out. He's doing fine, but because of that experience, he tells these really compelling stories that help people to understand more and more what they're buying or what they're getting. And so I had a chance to work with one of these two business advisors. Which one should I choose? Oh, let me give you a little bit more information. Those two are the same person, and that person is me. Okay, now which of those two speeches do you want to listen to, Mike?
Right.
Right? And so the whole idea of what do you do to share your message in a compelling way? I see so many people who are fantastic people and they've got great stories to tell, but the manner in which they're telling them are either boring or they're not getting enough bang for their buck. So I finally decided that's it. I've worked with students all over, business people, people giving gospel messages, everything else. I'm going to put together a world-class course and just go for it. It's called the Professional Speakers Experience, launching the next version of it in January. And basically, it's a 8-week course where there's a lot of homework. You know, you got to be serious about this, but forever and ever, your message will be crafted in a way that's succinct. If I asked you, hey, what do you do? And you say, well, I do podcasting and I do this, I do that. Wait, time out. You've already lost me. The best people who always have an answer to that question, it's even shorter than an elevator speeches. I help blank do blank. I help business owners sell their businesses. I help people learn to speak in a compelling manner. Anything, it's always I help blank do blank, and then as soon as you have said that, you always want them to ask the question, how? How do you do that? Well, once they've asked the question, how, now is your opportunity to present something compelling to them. But most people, when it's like, hey, what do you do? Well, it depends on what day it is. You know, no. Come on, let's help people to have a great message to have other people who can't wait to hear them. That's what I'm about.
Yeah. Wow. That is incredible. Yeah. And I was actually trying to work on my elevator pitch the other day because so many times you're exactly right when you talk to people, and especially kind of in this realm that we're in, and you say, what do you do? I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I'm a podcaster. I'm a life coach. Oh. Okay. Well, I think
Yeah. Oh,
almost
thank
all
you.
of us. I think almost all of us are doing that now. Okay. But what do you do?
Right.
But what do you
Yeah,
do?
and notice that every one of those answers, not one of the people are going to come back and say how.
Exactly.
But
'Cause
if you rephrase it, I help blank do blank, all of a sudden now you're getting somewhere, and that's got to be compelling.
yeah. Yeah. For me, the other day, I was trying to, use a play on words and just trying to put this little catchy thing together. And I was like, when you work with me, I'm going to give you a step by step proven recipe that's going to create results. That's going to give you a roadmap to follow. And, I was just trying to use all these different little
Uh-huh.
things. But afterwards, I was like, that's a little too long.
Yeah, it is.
Like
So
you said, I
let me
have to
ask you
have
real
that
quick.
boom and boom.
Yeah, this will be helpful for your listeners. So as you're crafting that, Mike,
Yeah.
what is it that you're going to help them do? You're going to help them with this success roadmap. Is that in business, in life, in podcasting? What is that doing?
Right. Yeah.
Where's it helping them the most, or where do you feel called the most to see them have growth?
Yeah, for me, it's potential. I always say for me, I work more on personal growth. I do, for me, a little bit more personal growth than business development.
Hmm.
And so for
So
me, it's about
when you
developing
say
a system
personal
for them.
growth, yeah, when you say personal growth, does that mean that they take better vitamins, or does that take they get in a mental space, or what exactly? Let's focus in. Let's get really targeted there. When you say personal growth, what are you hoping happens as a result of you working with them?
For me, it's transformation. I want them to have the dream life that they've always wanted. And it starts with mindset transformation. It starts then from there going into habits. We know that the fastest way to success is replacing bad habits with good habits.
Hmm.
Setting goals, setting out a roadmap and a plan. Because I always tell people, if you don't have a map, where are you going? You know,
Hmm.
I know you know Mr. Zig well, and so I use the wheel of life and look back on the seven spokes of the wheel and go, where are you at here? We take an
Hmm.
introspective look so that we can then move forward. Because of course we don't
Okay,
don't know where to go if we don't know where we are.
perfect. And so, with when you're communicating, when somebody goes, "Hey, Mike, what do you do?" Say, all people have a dream in life when they're younger. Most of them never accomplish it. But I help people accomplish that dream once and for all by giving them crystal clarity. Period. End of story. Start to walk away. They won't let you, right?
Wow.
As soon as you say that, they're going to go, "Well, how do you do that?" And then you can, go into your next succinct step. Basically, what you want to do is throw out this to a starving person, this unbelievable little morsel of a meal, little appetizer, and they'll go, "How?" And then as soon as they eat that, "I want some more. I want some more." And so you're going to keep leaving them coming towards you rather than you trying to chase them.
Yes.
And those are the types of things that I'll be doing in a professional speaker's experience.
Wow. Well, that's definitely something I need to check out then. Definitely. Um, so if somebody's wanting to be a speaker and build a course, what is the first thing that you think they should do? Should they start working on something themselves, or should they look at your professional speaker's experience and then kind of start from there? Where should they like first jump off this diving board, so to speak?
Yeah, I wouldn't send them to someone like me because you and I would both be embarrassed very easily if somebody says, "How much money have you spent on different courses that you didn't really do all of the course or implement it?" And we'd be like, "Whoa, how about those Cowboys? Yeah, it was a decent win last." We don't want to talk about that because we've wasted so much money.
Right.
And so, one of the things I do is if somebody's going to take my course, I want them to be in it to win it. And I am going to, you can tell my passion for it.
Yes.
I'm going to make sure that it's worth my whole deal is, hey, if this isn't worth 3 times as much as it cost you, let me give you your money back. I mean, come on, let's go. Let's. I want to see people who have life change. Having said that, if I want to start a speaking career, let me ask you a question. Why? And then what is it that you're most passionate about? Then you tell me, why are you so passionate about that? And then the next question I'd follow up with is, okay, if you're that passionate about it, what is the message that you really want the world to hear? How do you want them to think? What do you want them to feel? What do you want them to do?
Yes.
And so think, feel, and do. As soon as they can answer those questions with some really good clarity, now you can begin to say, is this best as a speech or going around speaking? Is this going to be best as putting it in print and starting to blog on it? You know, one of our favorite books, Mike, would be Atomic Habits. When James was putting all that together, he just started writing a blog. He started writing a piece every week. And all of a sudden, you know, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people are reading this blog. And he knew he was onto something. So he put it all together. And now it's been a New York Times bestseller 6 or 7 years in a row.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I've had some people say, that they want to speak and they, talk about different things. Some say, it's because they want to get a message out there. They feel like they're good at speaking. And that's kind of what I always say is, what is it you're trying to accomplish? If you're trying to
Right.
impact the masses, you're trying to create a movement. Is it, am I spreading the message of a book? Am I a storyteller? Because we know there's so many different parts to speaking on the stage, from being a storyteller
Absolutely
to
true. Mm-hmm.
sharing a book or whatever that may be.
Well, and you saw what I did in Nashville. I was asked to speak at this event, and I looked at the event itself, and I told the person putting together it, hey, the answer is no, because you've got so many people who are awesome speaking right one after the other,
Yep.
that by the middle of the afternoon, people are going to look for sharp pencils to poke their eyeballs out because it's going to feel better than listening to one more speaker. And so the guy's laughing. He's like, Dr. Rob, what are you talking about? What should I do? I said, look, I'll speak for you, but only if I speak 10 times. Every time will only be 2 minutes each.
Yep.
And then I came up in between the speakers, the big music would come on. This is how we do it. And, and everybody up, everybody up. Hey, let me tell you about something that just came out. Stanford University came out with a study, came out last week. It applies to your life. Are you ready for this? And then I would jump in and I would teach something for 2 minutes, jump out. And then everyone's like, okay, high five, 5 people, have a seat. And I just wanted to help his event be successful. And it ended up, I was blown away by the response, because what I did is I said, if I only had 2 minutes on my 10 favorite research studies of all time, which ones would I pick? And I picked them, and you heard the results. It ended up being pretty good.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at my notes right now. I pulled them out earlier, and from the very first one where you came up and did a little thing said, prove you care. And
Right.
I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, here's round one with Dr. Rob. Prove you care. What do we got? And you just came up
Uh-huh.
and said, 40 seconds of eye contact.
That's right. Hey, let me tell you a story on that one. I get after that conference, 2 days later, I get a text from a defense lawyer in Las Vegas. Okay, now, is that not the world's greatest job? And can you imagine the stories you hear as a defense lawyer in Las Vegas?
Yeah, I can only
Yeah.
imagine.
Okay, and so this person was at the conference, and they said, hey, Dr. Rob, remember that thing, 40 seconds of direct eye contact and asking the questions? It will prove you care.
Yep.
I thought, I wonder if that will work for a lawyer, because people all hate us anyway. So as soon as I got back to Vegas, I got my legal pad, my pencil, and I went in to meet with clients. I met with 7 clients the first day. And I put down my legal pad and the pencil, and I said, hey, I'll take some notes in a minute, but first, tell me what's really going on in your life. And she goes, I just used 40 seconds of eye contact. She goes, you can't make this up. 4 out of the 7 people I met with that day said, you're the most caring lawyer I've ever been with.
Wow.
If this will work for defense attorneys in Las Vegas, it will work for you and I with our kids, with our friends, other people. So yeah, that was just one of the 2-minute things I did over the 2 days.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you to share some of those because, like, you had that, you had the productivity blast off, you just had all these little, and I got every one of them written down. I'm just like, wow, boom. I mean, share some of those, Rob, Dr. Rob, like the productivity blast off.
Yeah, productivity blast off. It's Mel Robbins. She's the one who came up with this. I love it. Basically, in her words, she was depressed and not doing well physically, overweight, and in a bad place, and eating, and just She knew her life was a mess, but all of us, we try to get going, but something happens and we just can't start to develop the way we want to. So she's watching TV. It's late at night, and there is something where they're showing a rocket blasting off. She thinks to herself, I wish I could do that in life. I could just kind of go like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off and do something. And so she's thinking about that. She goes to sleep. The next day, she thinks, I should get up and get going and maybe even go for a little walk. But instead, and she said this out loud to herself: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. She threw the covers off, went over, got dressed, put her shoes on, and went for a walk. And she's like, this is crazy. I did it. I'm so proud of myself.
Right.
She gets back. Now it's time to get something in the refrigerator. I shouldn't just eat this junk food. I should probably just bake some. 5, 4, 3. And she just went for it. She discovered something by accident that has swept the world. She started telling all of her friends. She started telling business associates, totally changed her world. She's multiple published author now. And here's what it is. It has to do with neurology in your brain, that your brain will come up with excuses of why you should be fat and lazy and be sedentary and not do those things that you have to get accomplished that day. But as soon as you think, I need to go do this, it takes your brain a little while to come up with, no, don't do that. Instead, grab a candy bar. And if you can get moving within 5 seconds and just do it, don't think about it, just start doing it, your brain stops fighting you on it. Your brain's like, oh, I guess we're doing something else now. And so she invented that. It has to do with neurology in the brain, but it was brilliant. It's helped change my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things that after I came back to the conference, I started trying to implement myself. I literally would do the same thing and go, okay, here we go, boom. Because I know after five
Uh-huh.
seconds, I'm going to make an excuse not to do it. So let's just
That's
do it.
absolutely true. Yes,
Boom,
sir.
let's just do it. So it was great input, no doubt. And so many other things, like 4 things that great people do differently. I mean,
Yeah, my number one on that is it was a great study. Basically, 25% of all Fortune 500 CEOs had been let go, fired, got their rear ends, walked out the door over a 10-year period. And you think, wait, time out. These are the best leaders out there. Who's hiring these clowns? Well, it's only the boards of directors of Fortune 500 companies, like the smartest people we have, yet they're getting it wrong 25% of the time.
right.
So a research firm goes in, studies that, says why, what's going on, and then they do a comparison group. Instead of taking the top 25%, they only took the top 5%. And they said, what is it that these guys are doing over and over again, why they're successful, but these other people are getting fired? What's the big difference here? And what they found is there was 4 things that the successful people tend to do over and over and over. And I usually only talk about the first one because it's so true, and that is they are decisive. Decisive. They can make a decision.
Yes.
Here's the research that blew my mind. It's usually better for you, Mike, and for me to make a bad decision than it is to make no decision at all.
Yep.
Because if we make no decision, it just kind of draws it up. Well, I haven't really decided yet. I'm not really sure I have. It's like, no, make a decision. And then if it ends up it's a bad decision, you can change it. So you can change a bad decision, but you can't change a no decision. And so the best, most successful CEOs in the world are people who make decisions. And a bunch of them are wrong. So they change them. But it keeps things moving all the time. Once I implemented that in my life, started teaching my kids and my grandkids, it's a life changer.
Yeah, because if you make the wrong decision, you fail. That's okay. That's how, every from Ford to Elon Musk to anybody else down the line, they didn't come what they became from not failing. Right. And so
Yeah,
we have to make a
yeah, that's
decision. And then if it's a wrong decision, we take it back, we analyze it, we go, what happened in that? Okay, next time I'm not going to do that. Let's try it a
uh-huh.
different way. And next thing you know, well, one elimination at a time, and here's success. But I
And
agree,
you know
right? If
what?
we
You're
don't
going to
make
be
a
great at
decision,
that
we're
with,
stuck.
yeah, when you're working with your clients, when you can say, hey, if you're not failing, then I must not be doing a very good job, because that means you're not trying new things. And so listen to this. You're on a journey to success. You are going to arrive. However, there are inevitable cul-de-sacs along the way. Those are called failures to some people, but we're going to call them learning opportunities. So, what learning opportunity have you had this week where you kind of messed up a little bit and we just need to learn from it? Share one with me. And then you just get into it with your clients and you keep them focused.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Man, great stuff, Doc. So real quick, what are some of the greatest strengths that you think that you have as far as a person that is impacting those out there today?
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, I'm 61 years old, but hopefully you can hear in my voice and in my life, and we've met each other, but I am a passionate dude. And that comes from the fact that I can be forgiven. I mean, when I got forgiven and I was set free and I could start to forgive myself, it made all the difference in the world. And so the whole idea of I was not a person who grew up with faith or church or anything like that. But when I heard that there's a God in heaven and his son died for me and I could experience that personally, I was the first one raising my hand going, okay, how? Prove it. Well, it's proven itself out. So I feel like, Mike, that I'm set free now to get over myself, to not believe my own press clippings, and let's just go impact people and make a good life. So I think one of the things I do is I bring passion to the table, and then I have this compassion along with it because people look at me and they go, "Oh my goodness, he's really successful." Um, I I'm not that successful. Well, when I start telling my stories and how I've been to the dark side and some other things like that, that gives that opportunity for us to identify and me to help. Uh, I call it 3 hugs and a kick in the rear. Get them out of wherever they are and let's get going in life.
I love it. Well, that's a great point, Doc. I truly say all the time, you can never be successful at anything. I don't care if it's selling bubble gum if you don't have passion. It always
Yeah,
has to
yeah, you're
start with that, and that's a love inside of you. And a love inside creates a passion. When you have a passion for something, then it obviously shows. It does with you. I mean, when you were in the room, you lit up the room. Everybody was just waiting to talk to you. Whenever we were bouncing around the room, like Dr. Rob, Dr. Rob, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's so busy. No doubt.
Well,
But you
yeah,
lit
you know
up the
what?
room.
I am, but what's so funny is I build margin into my life. My wife taught me this. And so people all the time they go, "Hey, I know you're really busy," and I just let it go because what I want to say is, "No, I'm really not. I work incredibly hard and I do a lot of things, but it's only the stuff I want to do." And so I'm at the place in my life when you're talking about. I just want to tell your listeners real quick. Hey, friends, get with Mike on this coaching thing. Here's what it is: when you can get to the place in your life where you have clarity and you have focus, the best part of that is you can start to say no. You can say, "Hey, I'm sorry. That's fantastic. It's wonderful, but that's not me. I'm out." When you can have the clarity to say no to a bunch of stuff, now it makes that yes that much more powerful. You don't get that unless you're working with somebody who can help you do that. And Mike would certainly be the one to do that. And so for me and my encouragement to your listeners is when you say you're very busy, I'm busy, but only working on the things I want to work on. And I couldn't have ever got there without a community and without good coaching.
Yes, sir. I agree 100%. Well, one last thing on here that I had on my list, Doc. I had one here. It says, "What is the biggest legacy that you think you're going to leave behind?"
I'm fairly certain on this one is there will say Dr. Rob loved us. And we have a thing in our house. If you come into our house, we're going to love you, period, end of story. Yeah, but I just got out of jail. I killed a guy. That sounds great. Come on in. Can we get you a drink? We'll tell us the story. We're going to love, we're going to love, we're going to love. And that just breaks down people to a place where they're like, what is it with you guys? And we could say, we've been forgiven. What about you? And enter in. And so what you hear every time on my 800 podcasts, I end the same way every time. I always go, much love, I'm out. But I want to be somebody who looks people in the eye, who respects people because they're made in the image of God, and who I would just want to leave this legacy of love. Obviously, I want that to start with my family, Wouldn't it be a disaster if a billion people at the funeral and the family goes, yeah, he was out there for everyone else. He was never there for us. So I start with my family. They're loved, they're treasured. And then after that, it's everyone else I meet.
Wow, that's powerful. And you got that so right there at the end. I think so many times people are running and gunning trying to get to that next level or business up one more opportunity or make another dollar and they're making impact on other people's lives, but yet their home life is not where it needs to be. And so we definitely have to concentrate on ours first. And I always think of what you were saying by that is absolutely love. It just makes me think of John 3:16, right? I mean,
Right.
for
Yeah.
God so loved the world, he gave his only son. If you believe that, hey, you'll have eternal life. And we need to remember that. And that's where I always kind of wrap it up. One last thing. Is there anything else that you want the listeners to know about you or anything that I did not address? Questions, anything
Well,
like
yeah.
that?
Yeah. With me, married 37 years to the love of my life. Now, remember that house that I came out of? That's a miracle in itself, right? That I've
That
been married 37 years.
that is, yes, sir.
Yeah, she deserves a medal. We all agree on that. Having said that, I want to tell you that we've been to marriage counseling, I'm going to guess 5 or 6 times. Probably should have gone 10, but the male ego is only good for about once every 5 years.
Wow.
But here's what I want to leave with you and your listeners. When we needed help, we got it. Let me ask you a question. Where do you need help today? Well, dial up Mike, send him an email, and let's get going on that journey. He's going to help you get there. And so I just want to tell other people, man, when you need help, if you'll get it, if you'll be that humble, then the sky is the limit.
Wow, what a great point, Doc. That's amazing. Well, for those listening, I hope that you go back and listen to this podcast again because I always say the first time around, you never truly get all of the input. So go back, get a piece of paper and a pencil, listen to this stuff that Dr. Rob has said. I mean, he's just dropping intellectual wealth over here like nuggets of gold. And so go back and listen to this podcast again. It is great stuff, and I hope that it's going to help you today. That's why we do the Born to Succeed podcast. I always say, going back to 2019, I had been listening to one podcast at that time. God told me to create a podcast, write a book, become a motivational speaker, and start down this path of serving Him more. I said, I am your vessel, Lord. And I did. And in January 2020, we started the Born to Succeed podcast. And my goal in mind was to help you both professionally and personally. And so that's why we bring our guest on. And we definitely got some intellectual wealth today from Dr. Rob. And Dr. Rob, we appreciate you so much and for what you do out there for everybody on a business level and on a personal level, because you are definitely someone to look at and admire. When I look at mentors, I have a few, and you're definitely one of those guys on the top of my shelf going, if I could live a life like this guy, hey, that's where I need to be. And we all need to have those. Remember, guys out there, you have to have mentors and you have to have people to look up to and go, hey, here's
Yes.
somebody great to look at. Because if we don't, who am I mimicking, right? So definitely, Dr. Rob, you're way up there, and I appreciate everything you do. Thank you for spending time with us today. We appreciate that greatly. Lastly, for our listeners, remember two things. You can have everything you want in life if you just help enough others get what they want and need, the famous Zig Ziglar quote. And then lastly, of course, I always finish with remember the golden rule, because you can have everything you want in life if you will just stop and help others, right? But then treat them as you want to be treated. So, with that being said, until next time, for the Born to Succeed podcast, Michael Merritt, Dr. Rob McCleland today, our awesome guest. We thank you so much for your time and listening to us, and we look forward to you seeing you next time. Have a blessed day and a blessed week. Bye bye. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to the Born to Succeed podcast. We certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule today to listen to our podcast, and we hope our message has resonated with you and makes an impact on your life. Reach out to us at merrittcoachinggroup@gmail.com. Find us on all of our social media platforms, Michael Merritt or the Born to Succeed podcast. It is again my honor and privilege to bring you a podcast. We hope that this brings some value to your life. And we at the end thank you so much for your time and listening and your support. If this message has resonated with you, please share it with somebody else. Subscribe, rate our show, And until next time, have an amazing, magnificent, blessed day and week. And thank you again. Bye-bye.